You don't wake up knowing markets, kid. Everybody starts brand new. First you learn what moves, what waits, and what risk can really do. No racing clocks, no magic tricks, no get rich overnight. Just learning how to place a trade and sleep cozy and tight. No shortcuts, no loud claims, just rules you understand. Know what you're risking, know your why. Keep a steady hand. One trade at a time, that's how it's done. Slow is smooth and smooth is smart. You learn before you earn, my friend. That's how confidence starts. This ain't a sprint, it's a longer game. So pull up a chair and plan. Welcome to Options for Beginners with Dan.
Dan, how we doing?
Doing good. You know what I thought of that? I found I'm getting older, but my toes were clicking. I mean, I like that. And you know what I thought about for homework, folks? If you go look at, remember the kids' movie Jungle Book?
Oh yeah.
And Baloo, the bear, befriended Mowgli, right? But some of the songs that Baloo would sing to Mowgli, just like he did one song like relax, be cool or something. It reminded me of it. It had that kind of just let it go. And
that's how I think of you, Dan. I think of you just.
So I'm gonna go watch Jungle Book. I'll try just so we're is this right? Monday with Martin Luther King Day, the market's not open, so there will be no
no show
today. So we will be up on Wednesday. And kind of where we're going today, folks, and we don't know ourselves, but where we're going today is we'll do a quiz at the beginning, a little quiz. So just take 3 deep breaths.
Oh, yeah.
This will be an easy quiz. I have another quiz coming Wednesday on the Greeks and a long call. And your delta, a little bit, that's going to be a little bit, but you know what? At least it gives you, we're going to talk a little bit about the Greek. So we'll do the quiz. We'll review a little bit because this is repetition. Then we'll go over to long call. We'll look at the Greeks and the modeling a little bit. We'll have Troy. And then I'll go a few instances where you can see the Greeks. Now, we haven't thoroughly or even beginning thoroughly gone over the Greeks, but sometimes it's good to show you, a lot of people just look at, you're long a call, just buy a call. And I'm just going to bring in some of the nuances that you need to look at your Greeks, right? And just show, so it's not, I'm kind of going a different direction here. I'm kind of showing you these Greeks change over time. These Greeks do mean something and you do need to learn them and type thing like that. And then we'll go from there. So,
okay,
folks, the quiz, this isn't, I would say, a real tough one. Sometimes with the quiz, what would you say, Troy, the logistics, right, or how you say it. But we'll
go through it we'll go through it together and we'll do it one at a time. So you ready for it?
We're ready. All right.
Okay.
All right. All right. So what we're going to do this, folks, on our system, you write down. The only thing I didn't do is number them, but we'll just kind of go through them.
Yeah.
Is mid price a good starting price to shoot for when buying a call option? And again, all of this is going to be, the key with these beginning stuff is we're going to go through stuff. We're going to go do it again, practical examples, some live trade, and so you'll get it, right? But we're not just going to stay in the world of theoretical. I think it's, probably not as beneficial. So is mid-price a good starting price to shoot for when buying a call option? Yes or no? And probably, is mid-price a good starting price to shoot for when buying a call option? And you can type in the chat on these, put your opinions in there, and Troy can tell me what it looks like. Is mid-price a good starting price to shoot for when buying a call option?
We got one person saying yes, Dan.
Okay, that's a good start.
Do we want to go through them and then answer at the end, or do we want to answer each time?
What do you think?
Dealer's choice.
A dealer's choice. Let's go through them. I don't think these. I think when we do the Greeks quiz on Wednesday, I'll just say it and they can do it. Maybe we'll give them a minute or so, or 2 minutes, but we can go over it. So, is mid-price a good starting price to shoot for when buying a call option? Make your choice, folks. Yes or no, and I'll give you the answer.
I need the Jeopardy music.
Yeah, the Jeopardy music. I mean, it's kind of a tricky question in the sense that what I'm getting at is, if Troy opens his computer and looks at the call, right? If Troy's
I'm switching locations real time.
Okay. I'm switching. It's like, when you buy a call, when you open your computer, it could say the bid is $7. 2 seconds later, the stock is the same. It's $7.40. So I always look at it, the mid-range. I start with, especially spreads, but with call options, watch the mid-price for 30 seconds. Watch the price of the underlying. If it's not changing and you're buying a call, if the stock isn't changing, I would look at the option. And let's say the range is $7 to $7.30. I would start at the lower end of the range, since this is a debit, 7, and then slowly work my way up to fair value, right? Because if you immediately, it gives you a mid-price and you hit it, how many times have you done that, folks? And you get a fill real quick, and you're like, oh, geez, I could have got a little better money. And what I want to get across is, when you start trading more over a year, what you could save in execution costs with a little diligence will absolutely dwarf, in my opinion, commissions. So that's to inspire you. Number 2, with an out-of-the-money call, Troy, why don't you read the questions, and then if that's okay.
Yeah. With an out-of-the-money call option, the strike price is below the stock price?
Yeah, and this is kind of, you would say, basics, right? Elementary, dear Watson, right? In a call option, and we're illustrating we're taking an example, buying an out-of-the-money call in Microsoft. So out of the money is when the strike price is above the stock price, right? So it's out of reach, out of the money. And, if Microsoft is at about 460 today, and in our example, we're going to probably look at today buying the 520 call, it's out of reach, right? Microsoft's around 460 today, and we're going to buy an April 520 call. That's 60 points out of the money. And I'm saying the right to buy the stock at 520, which no one would do, right? So it's going to be a lot less. But so the strike price is above, out of reach, too far away. So yes, the answer on this is false, right?
False.
False. Yep. So sorry, that was to make a long story short. Number 3, Troy.
Number 3. This is David Letterman, reverse order. Further out expirations have more intrinsic value and less intrinsic value?
Yeah, true or false. This is kind of you say, Dan, it's not a fair question. So let's think about it. Further out expirations, in our Microsoft example, we're going to buy April 17. That's 91 days out. When you buy an out-of-the-money call, it's out of reach. It's far away, right? We're at 460 in Microsoft. We're going to buy a 91-day 520 call, right? That's 60 points out of the money. There's nothing there. There's no intrinsic value, right? There's no intrinsic value. It's all extrinsic value, right? So the answer here, because, right, would this be in the world of logic or whatever? One of these further out of money options, further out expirations do have less extrinsic value, you could say, right? Less extrinsic value than what, right? Than in the money. But The part of it that makes it false is further out expirations have more intrinsic value, have more, and as you go out of the money, right? Intrinsic value, there is none, right? Intrinsic value, what does that mean, folks? Microsoft's at 460. If I roughly, or it's at 460. If I buy a 440 call, a strike below, there's real value. I'm saying I can buy this. I'm obligating myself to buy the stock at 450 with the stock trading near 460. I'll do that all day. Yeah. Right? That's why there has to be a premiums. So this would be false, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, these are type of words. I get always word salad. And extrinsic and intrinsic, the way I always look at it is extrinsic is what I think my basketball skill shows people about me. And my intrinsic value is maybe what God thinks about me. That's the way I look at it. Something like that.
And that's a good point. Or in keeping it with basketball for a second, your intrinsic value is when you get out on the court, right?
That's right.
Extrinsic value to me is kind of like trash talk, right?
Yeah, what sneakers you're wearing.
Right, I'm going to do this to you. Okay, yeah, I'm going to post you and I'm going to look you in the eyeballs and I'm going to stuff on you or whatever. Intrinsic is now you're on the court. Now you got to perform. But you're right. That was a good analogy.
Tom has a good one. I've only ever seen the front month extrinsic higher than back month one time, and that was on GME when IV was 1,600%.
Yeah, what an example! That is awesome.
Great example. All right, number four.
Yeah,
for call buyers, the strike price is where you can buy the stock anytime during the trade. Is that true or false, chat?
Again, I'm trying to make the simple questions a little trickier. So the question is, today, kind of think about it, Microsoft's at 460. I own a 1 April 17, 520 call, 60 points out of the money. Can I exercise that call today to buy the stock at 520? Can I do it? Yes or no? Chat. Yeah. I can do it, right?
Yeah, you can.
I mean, it wouldn't be smart. It wouldn't be advisable, but I'm pretty sure I can go exercise that call to exercise my 520 call to buy Microsoft at 520, but I could get arrested, right, for stupidity because I could go in the open market and buy it for 460. Agree? I do pay but anyways, so you wouldn't do that. So the answer, if you, what was the thing? Strike price we can, yeah. So the answer would be true, right? Right, Troy? I mean, I could do it, right?
Yeah, I mean the strike price is where you can buy the stock anytime during the trade. The way I look at that question, I mean, my brain is what some people call a broken brain. I would say it's not true, but it is technically true. But this is what I would say. I would say when I think of strike price, I think of strike price at every strike on the option chain. And so I would consider this kind of a trick question in the sense of the at the money strike is where I could buy the stock during the trade.
Yeah.
But I like the ways you're doing it because it makes you kind of do a double check of like, why is that the case?
Yeah. And I think, yeah. All right.
Next question. If you pay $5 premium for an option, is that $50 or $500 in capital for that?
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure people,
we went through this, but this is a good one.
Yeah. Contract multiplier. Is the contract multiplier, is it 10 or is it 100? And the answer is it's 100. So when you pay $5, so the call, which we'll look at in a second, in Microsoft is around $6.25. Well, that's 625. So it's multiplied by 100. Next, Troy, any comments on any of these? Just
No, but this is something that you know, going through it with beginners before, that one takes a while to get, and
It does.
because people also, once you're into options, you kind of like start interchanging it in a way that you just kind of have to know what they're talking about. And so someone says, "Hey, I sold a put spread today, a 0-day put spread, and I made $75 on it." Well, if they're talking about how much it costs to sell it, it'd be $7,500 if they're sitting 75. But the context matters, because you learn options. You're like, well, they didn't sell the put spread for $7,500 today,
Right.
0-day, so they made $75, actually 75.
And one point, just practical point, hopefully it is, anytime, like I just did right now, pretending like, and I'm going to do it, buy this Microsoft call, right? And if I go in to buy it, how many, just as a rule of thumb, I never buy an option or do a spread before I hit the nuclear weapon button, as I call it, the send button, whether it be a tasty trade or think or swim or whatever it is, until I bring it up and it'll show me buying power effect. So here I'm buying a call at $625 in Microsoft. It says buying power effect. It tells you $625. Then it gives you the commission. If I buy one, it's 65 cents a contract at Thinkorswim, Schwab, plus 0.01. I forget what the point, one more penny. So I'm paying 66 cents commission plus 625. So I can see it, right? And so before I hit the weapon, am I happy with 6.25? I read it to myself. Buy one Microsoft 817 520 call at 6.25. And that way you can catch, uh-oh, I went quick. I did the wrong duration. Uh-oh, yeah. Instead of buying one, I bought 10. So I can't overemphasize that you need to create, to me, two rules in buying options, since we're talking about that today. Number one, before you click the nuclear weapon button, make sure you read the order to yourself. Well, Dan, I got to get it in. Microsoft's going to go up right away. I picked the bottom. Yeah. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
Read the order out loud. Make sure you bought everything you did, then click. Number two, anytime you have an order in, I don't care what it is. Is it a spread, a call, whatever? Always, number two, always, number three, always have an order in at some price to get out for a profit, right? Yeah. It's a free, you're hiring a broker free to represent you all the day. So if I buy a call at 6.25, and this is a speculative buying a call, I might have an order in, I'm looking to make 30 to 40%. Let's say 40%. Let's say 30%. So if I pay let's just, instead of 6.25 for math, let's call it I'm paying $600. If I want to make if I'm looking to make 30%, I've got an order in to sell this $6 option that I bought at $7.80 credit. And I put a GTC good till cancel. It's in. It's representing me 8 hours a day over the next couple months, right? Now you could put it in, whatever your plan is. I'm trying to make 30%, 50%. If I'm buying two options, I'll sell one at 40%, sell one at 80%. Whatever you want to do, back test it, and you can test these things. But those are some ideas. Next one, Troy.
Next one. An out the money call has a delta less than A60, B50, or C30.
I tried to be a little trickery here to make it. Yeah.
And maybe we'll go to the graph, Dan, and answer this together.
Yeah. Thank you, Troy.
Yeah. So let's go Microsoft and go to the option chain. And we bought a 91 day out, theoretically, modeled out a 91 day out yesterday. It's down today. If you remember at the top of this here, we've got delta, right? So if we look at what the stock price is, it's 459. This yellow line in our modeling tool is going to show you kind of where the at the money strike is at currently. So with that in mind, let's go back to that question now. You look at the deltas and you say, okay, in this, as we go through this, when you buy a 20 delta call, or sorry, wrong question. An out the money call has a delta less than 60, 50, or 30. So remember, out the money means that we, in this case with a call, we're above where we are currently, which is around 457. So we're going to go down on the calls. All right. So if you look at deltas, the further out you get from where we are currently, your delta goes down. Right. And so does that answer the question? And in fact, this kind of shows where we were yesterday. We modeled this yesterday or 2 days ago. And Dan, I want to say with this, we did a 20 delta.
Yes, right? That's what we're gonna do today again. Yeah, 20 delta.
Well, look at it now. We've gone down in Microsoft, so now that strike is farther away, and therefore it's a lower delta.
Yeah.
So I think we answered our question in that one, right?
Yeah, an out of the money call, generally, it says an out of the money call has a delta less than 60, 50, or 30. Well, if you look at the 3, an out of the money call has a delta less than C would be correct, right?
Yep.
But A wouldn't be, right? Because technically, an out of the money call has a delta less than 60. We can say, okay, a delta less than 60, 58. 58 would be maybe a tinge high for what's the delta of the call right now is closest at to the money. What is it?
It's about a 55 delta.
All right. And generally that's about right, 55. So this was more being a little cheesy here, a little pickle, right?
Which is what I mean, that's my goal, is to be as cheesy as possible.
Yeah, be a little cheesy, because technically less than 60 for A, if it was 58, would be just a tinge out of what we would consider. That would be, an out of the money call has a delta less than 60. Well, yeah. So that would be, it's the A that's a little more difficult, right? Because in the money or an at the money would be kind of that 50 to 55 range. Once you get to 57, 58, generally your at the money won't be that, will be in that 50 to 55. Anyways, I think I'm confusing myself on that, but
I could tell the more you asked it, you're like,
the more I talk about it. Yeah, I need this quiz more than anyone. All right, next one, Troy.
When you buy a 20 delta call, is it reasonable to expect the underlying stock price to hit your stock price during the trade? So Dan, this is getting to something we talked about 2 days ago, which is the expectations of deltas. And so, to go back and look at the chart again, let's say we look at a 20 delta that's 91 days out. Well, it's $520. Well, currently right now, again, we're at 459. So 70 points away, $70 away.
Yes.
Is it reasonable to expect us to get to that by expiration?
Yeah. And the answer would be no, right?
Yeah.
Right. When you buy a 20 delta call, even if you look, we talked a little bit on probability of touching, right? Your probability of touching, if you buy a 20 delta call, might be 40% probability. So it's not reasonable to expect the underlying stock price to hit your strike price during the trade when you buy a 20 delta call. So the question is, what does that mean for you as you're a call buyer? If you're going to hold a long out of the money call like this to expiration, you need to go in the penalty box for 20 minutes if this were hockey. Agree, Troy? You need,
Absolutely.
You're generally, so it's really, you have this theoretical definition of what you buy when you buy a out of the money call. But the actual is, in practice, people are holding a call, 20 delta call. It gives me leverage, right? It's cheap because and buying it out of the money, right? And a 20 delta call right now, I think in Microsoft's near the 520 strike. So no one's going to, to think that we're going to 520 and we're close to 459, 460. The point that a beginner should get is if you get a good run, you have a plan. You have a good run up and you're making 30 or 40%, you better understand that if it stops there, even if we're up 30, 40% and Microsoft stays the same the rest of the expiration, all my profit will go to zero.
Yeah.
Why? Because unless if I buy a 520 call with Microsoft at 460, unless we go over 520, there's no intrinsic value. This thing is toast, right?
Well, and let's talk about that, because if you look at this kind of answers two questions we talked about already. This is the chart this is the 16 delta that we bought. It was a 20 delta yesterday. Now it's a 16.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about extrinsic. Okay. Well, there's 90 days to expiration. So you'll see how options modeling works is this is your strike price is, 530. So about right here. Okay. But you'll notice that you have opportunity long before you get to 530. Your contract could gain value. You could make money long before it does it, right? Well, It's gaining extrinsic value. But here's the thing. Until you are in the money, until you hit that in the money, as time is going by, you are actually losing extrinsic value.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why at expiration, the expiration graph to zero shows you it's worthless unless you get to 530. And in fact, what Dan just said, you actually need to get past 530 to have any intrinsic value because you paid for this contract.
Yeah. And bringing another practical thing in, Troy, let's just take Microsoft, since we're just talking about one thing, right? Microsoft has earnings the week of January 30th, right? And I think it's January 28th. And a lot of times, I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like, right? Not that a lot of times some of these stocks will rally into earnings, right? And it wouldn't surprise me, and this is where, if you're gonna play, like buy a call in Microsoft, you want to be a little bit familiar with what's going on in the stock. So if I look at that and I look at the last 3-4 expirations and it kind of runs up into earnings, well, would I still go out and buy 93 days? No, I would come closer. I would come closer in and buy a call. But again, having a long call is like hot potato, right? I'm buying that call. But if we run up in Microsoft, we have a couple days where we're up $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, and I get 30%, or, I'm just saying, you're going to have a plan. I'm out, right? Because I know with earnings, because people expect a decent move in earnings, so option volatility goes up. So if I'm buying a long call, my premium will stay up on that long call, but I don't want to hold it over earnings, right? And these are, you say, Dan, you're getting a little too much into it. Well, if you're buying calls in stocks, these are basics you got to understand, right? You got to understand, is there, earnings is going to be, why is the volatility pop? Is there earnings? And so these are just a few little things that I wouldn't hold a long call through earnings, right? Generally, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah. So next question, and we'll go back to the graph for this. If you buy a 90-day at the money call, is theta or volatility the bigger risk your first week in the trade? So let's go back to this real quick. And let me do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to exit this out. I'm going to go 90 days, or roughly 90 days, 91 days. And we're going to buy an at the money call. So buy this 460. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go to this. And remember, what is Dan's question? Dan's question is, which one of these here at the bottom, these two, Theta or Vega,
Yeah.
which is your biggest risk the first week in the trade?
And let me write this down, Troy, so you can see your theta is minus 15, right?
Yeah, you're losing $15 a day theoretically.
Yeah. And $15 a day. And your Vega is what?
90.
90. And so go ahead, Troy. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll answer this as we go. Put in the chat what you actually. I'll give the chat. I'm gonna give you 15 seconds to answer this. Which one of those, your first 7 days in the trade on a 90-day contract, do you think is the biggest risk, Vega or Theta? Do 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 do. Okay, your biggest risk is Vega, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, technically, if you want to go by the book, right, it says theta $15 a day, right?
Yeah.
So if you did a week, 7 times 15, again, this is the world of theoretical. And that's what I want to point out. For those of you who are maybe accountants or engineers, when you look at these Greeks, take it with a grain of salt, as my Irish grandmother would say, right? Because they're an estimate, but it doesn't always happen like that. But if you go 7 days times your theta, Troy, that's 105, right? So technically, right?
Let's say we're right there.
Close, right?
Yeah, we went in 7 days. Yes, that's correct. The reason I say Vega is this. You're losing a little bit of money, but 90 days out, this is where I think you tricked me with your question. 90 days out, yeah, it's your theta is minimal that you're losing. But what could happen, because you're 90 days out, is let's say some news event came out and they said, hey, we're actually fine. I know that vol was up. I know that there was this event that was going to happen to Microsoft, but the event was canceled. So, okay, well, vol goes down. And suddenly, you're losing at a pretty big clip what's happening. So in my mind, the first week at least is Vega. Now, that switches, and we'll talk about this more next week, that switches as time is decaying. Because as you look, and let's say you are really starting to go, you held this thing, we'll see how Theta there at the bottom, Theta is actually overtaking Vega as your biggest risk.
Yeah.
And so that would be my answer.
Yeah. And the only thing, again, getting to a stock, right? As I rethink this, and you said, hey, Dan, so let's go back to the beginning Theta and the beginning Vega. And if you said to me, Dan, what do you think the first week? I'd say, I'm not worried about either of them.
Right. That's actually the answer.
Yeah. Now, I'm going from theoretical, what the theoretical tells us there, to actual. And you say, Dan, what's your thinking? Again, we have earnings coming up in 12 days. So what does that mean? It means that the volatility, even a 90-day option, at the worst, it's not going to go up like the near terms in terms of price, but from a volatility, implied volatility, it's not going down much, right? The implied volatility is around 25. With earnings coming up in 12 days, I don't think that's going anywhere, but maybe a little bit up, right?
Yeah.
Agree? So if that goes up, I'm getting a little bit of benefit from Vega. But here's the other thing, and this is too much, but I won't have that negative theta. I might not, in other words, even if we didn't move, that option could be the same in a week. Why?
That's right.
Because as volatility goes up, think about this, folks. Volatility measures the extrinsic value of an option. So this out of the money call is all extrinsic value. If the volatility goes up, what is it doing? It's pumping a little more extrinsic value into that option. It's raising the price. If it's raising the price, it's basically telling the theta to go home. You're irrelevant, right? Because it's pumping up. The theta is trying to take $15 a day off of it. But if Vega goes up a point or a half a point in the next week, it just slammed the theta 3 or 4 times the theta. So, yeah. So the bottom line is, you look at, you don't have this discussion as much if you're looking at SPY or SPX for a long call. But in a stock, you have earnings 4 times a year, right? So if you're going to buy calls on a stock, you know, things like the dividend or not as much, but earnings is definitely something to get into. And do I want to buy calls usually ever and carry them through earnings? No, I'd rather get a fork to the eye, the left eye, right? So these are things that may be over your head a little bit, but again, it's hard to bring up these beginner concepts without talking a little bit about reality. It's like you want to go, we want to stay in the real world as much as possible.
That's right.
Troy, I am not at my old age. I thought we would go through the quiz in a couple seconds. I always put down more to go over. We would need another hour and a half. But anyways, if you buy a 90-day at the money call, is theta or volatility a bigger risk your first week in this trade? From an actual today, I don't think either of them are any worry. But I guess the answer we would say would be, I mean, they're kind of close when you analyze it, but I would say volatility is a bigger risk. Is that fair to say?
I agree.
All right.
All right, 2 more. When implied volatility decreases, what part of an option is affected more, intrinsic or extrinsic value?
So everybody, see, that's one where you think about it. So again, when implied volatility decreases, that's the remember, volatility only measures the extrinsic. It's dealing with the extrinsic, the juice, the time premium of the option. So when that extrinsic value, when applied, run it through on the models, Troy.
So let's do real quick with this. Let's do it this way. We'll stay with the 90-day call. Okay, 460. So at the money. Okay. So let's look at this first. Remember, this is what it's going to look like at expiration.
Yeah.
So because of the premium you paid, you really need a $20, $30 run, okay, to do that. Now, let's do it this way. So let's say right now, vol IV decreases, okay? So IV is decreasing. You are losing money as you go, right?
Your extrinsic value is shrinking.
Your extrinsic value is shrinking.
Yeah.
Now, let's show you the other one. Let's go instead of at the money, and let's do this. Let's buy way in the money. Okay. Let's just buy a 300. Okay. And we're a 300.
You're going like 160 points in the money, like a stock surrogate.
That's exactly right. Stock surrogate. And so you look at this as time's going, assuming there's no change, your P&L graph doesn't really change that much.
No.
Okay. But also notice implied volatility, we're not even going to show it to you because the vol isn't affected as much. Now, it's still affected a little bit, but it's not as affected as much in the money as it is extrinsic. So your intrinsic value does not shift that much in the money if IV decreases. If you are out of the money, again, if you're at 6 or 460, well, IV is going to really affect it. Is that correct?
There's no extrinsic value. It's just like, it's not going to affect it at all.
Yep. All right. Last question for today. And then next week, we're going to deep dive on the Greeks.
Yeah.
What Greek is gamma most closely related to?
Now this could be an easy, this would be clear. There's no, Dan didn't fudge around trying to make
trick anybody. I'll answer it. Delta.
Yeah. Delta and gamma, they're first cousins, right?
And why? Why? Because gamma really is, in some ways, a secondary Greek that affects delta. Gamma is the rate of change to which delta changes. So gamma affects delta, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, looking at this real quick, you know, let's say we're going through time, blah, 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 you know, 460. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now let's say, take the P&L and look at delta.
Just
That's how, the delta of your shape, right? Well, as you're going through it, your delta, once you're in the money, you're going to approach 100 delta, right?
Yeah.
Which we would expect as you're approaching the money.
Right.
But how are you getting there? How is that actually working? You know, it's not like stock, which is static delta. The delta always stays the same. The reason it's doing that is because gamma, if you look at it, let's just take delta off for a second. As you're going, let's say you go, you know, here, this 1.98, that is the rate of delta. That's the deltas that you're adding for every move in the underlying. So if we go up from 460 to 462, you've actually gained 2 deltas.
Yeah.
Right. And so as that goes down, your gamma goes down. Why? Let's look at the delta together. Yeah. Because as you approach 100 deltas, that rate of change is not going to continue. Eventually your gamma will be 0 because you're so far in the money that your delta has become, in some sense, static.
Yeah, I think that's great. And that's why I think, I mean, folks, if you don't have the modeling tool and you're not in getting the option omega back test or anything, for about, you know, option omega has made it for almost like $15 a month. You get the modeling tool. To do this stuff on any other tool, I haven't seen it. It's quick. You can really learn the Greeks, especially as we get into it next week. Troy, can I end with, maybe it could be a bad and horrible analogy, but you know what I just thought of with gamma and delta? When, you know, in England, which is big, like the colleges out there, they have boats, right? All these, like at Cambridge and in Oxford, they have these boats, right? Each college has a boat, and they have these boat races, and they're absolutely so popular. But what do they call that when you're in the rowing? They have all the, you know, 8 guys or whatever it is rowing. Who's the guy that tells them what to do? That guy, the short guy who sits in the front, telling them go faster, do this, or slow down, or do this, or it's kind of dictating what they do. It's a tough.
I remember that guy's name.
Does anybody, Tom, can you help us with that? There's got to be a for the boat. Who's the guy who sits in the front and tells them? But the point is, he's in the front telling them, this is how you're going to move. This is, go faster, go slower, whatever. I think of, that's how gamma is telling the delta, we go up, this is how much you're moving. You're moving quite a bit. And then when you go up too much and you're exerting a lot of this energy, it'll slow you down, right? And this gamma is most at the money options. So at the money, your deltas will start changing as you go up. But eventually, like in this call, we're buying a 20 delta call, not in this one, but the kind of the class trade, a 20 delta call. That gamma is going to push that 520 call eventually up to a 50 delta call, but the stock has got to go from where it is now, like 460, up to 520. It's a long journey. So gamma is just telling you how that delta is changing, and that's what you need to know, right? And I just think you'll be better. And, you know, somebody could look back at this and say, you know what, Dan, I'm fine, right? Just buy a call when I want to buy a call. You know, I use the expression, ignorance is bliss, right? Sometimes it's nice to know nothing, right? Just walk in the west side of Chicago at 3 a.m. You know, I just feel like doing it. It's just no one will ever hear from you again. But the point is, I think these things will help you in all aspects of your trading if you weather them. Now, next week, as Troy said, Wednesday and then Friday, we'll go heavy into, again, a long option with the Greeks. I'm going to look at this today. I might sacrifice one and buy a call 90 days out. I think it's trading at around the 20 delta is trading around $6.40 for a 93 call. I don't know if I like it that much, but Microsoft's been down. It's a pretty good stock. And but we'll go over this next week, and then we'll probably have a quiz maybe Friday or the next Monday on long call, how the Greeks affected. But we're trying to, that's, if you want to be an independent craftsman or something, you got to learn these things. And it's, I think when you have examples and you're looking like Troy bringing up the modeling and everything, you'll get it. If you're living in the world of theoretical, it's not going to happen. So folks, have a nice 3-day weekend, study your Greeks, get the modeling tool, cancel all your family affairs over the 3-day holiday.
Right.
Work hard.
Start modeling.
Chicago, Doug Greeks.
I love it. And to answer our question about the rowboat, Steven says it's the guy at the front is the weakling. I think that's the technical answer. I think maybe the actual answer is coxswain.
That's what is it? A coxswing?
Yeah. Dan. On that note, you guys have a great week.